Morning, this is Tule Mesa in the Prescott National Forest, and I'm going to break here to talk some anime.
Balder Force EXE.
Balder Force EXE is a rather standard sci-fi cyberpunk anime. It's released in North America as a 4-part OVA on a single DVD by Funimation. That contains the complete story from start to finish. I'm told the whole thing is inspired by a game, but I'm not familiar with the game, so I'm just going to view the anime and review it on its own. In the future, much of the world's population spends a lot of its time plugged into the virtual reality of the wired, term from Serial Experiment Lane, I presume. Of course, there are some bad dudes in cyberspace as well. The VSS Corporation works to defend cyberspace from hackers, sort of modern-day Symantec, I guess. And the military has their own cyber combat unit for cyber warfare called FLAC. Aside from hackers, FLAC seems to have another problem. There's a ghost in the machine. I suppose this was her next job after .hack sign ended. The main character is Toro, a member of a gang of hackers called Steppenwolf. The story starts with Toro's arrest after trying to hack some military FLAC servers. He gets offered a choice of jail time or going to work for FLAC himself. The hackers and FLAC defenders alike use mecha-like avatars called simulacra for their cyber combat, and death in cyberspace causes death in meat space. That latter seems to me to be a defect in the cyber chip designs I think I'd put my engineers to work on.
Transferring simulacrum.
Your opponents are fade down. Proceed with extreme caution.
Copy that. Let's go.
That strategy straight out of a textbook.
I was disappointed by those visualizations of the wired, cyberspace, hacking, and cyber battle. It's a completely unimaginative representation that offers nothing we don't see in any standard mecha combat show. It has anthropomorphic mecha armed with Gatling guns. I suppose having the characters use their real-world avatars that look like their real bodies makes it easier for us viewers to keep track of who's who in cyberspace, even if it is a little dull, but maybe the hackers should have come up with something a little more, clever. It seems to me that cyber warfare should be different somehow, with more exotic landscapes, malleable avatars, and flamboyant weaponry. The story's going to involve a number of opposing forces. There's the military unit that Toro joined, FLAC. Then there are the former members of Steppenwolf. There's a lone hacker called Bachelor who knows Steppenwolf and worked with them once. There's a civilian cyber protection company called VSS. There's that ghost in the network I mentioned. And there's another cyber hacker group called Fade-Out that I'll come back to in a moment. The plot here develops along pretty familiar lines, aided by some wonderful coincidences that writers enjoy. Eventually it morphs into a let's save the world kind of scenario. I found the ending to be formulaic and predictable. Other than Toro, there were so many other characters that none of them ever really stood out from the clutter. They might have been better off focusing a little bit on one or two of them, just to give it some depth. Then there was the cyberpunk hacking group of Fei-Dao I mentioned. They seem to have some importance to the latter parts of the story, but they seem to be more cyber rebels than mere hackers, plus a few psychos thrown in. But there's no explanation of what underlying cause they're rebelling for or against. Why are they mad at FLAC? What are they rebelling against? Any old pro forma explanation would do. Is the government oppressive or something, or are they just angry? Even Toro himself, the central character, doesn't get fleshed out a whole heck of a lot. Why does he hack? Does he make money at it? Is it just for bragging rights? Does he have a job in the real world, like delivering pizza or something? And just what does he want from life? He seems really just to be an angry young man at the moment, and we don't know a whole lot about him either.
I just can't stand living in the real world anymore. It's always the same. And depressing. I still prefer the wired world. A better reality you can create from your own thoughts. A place where you can live without interference from strangers. And isn't that the true meaning of happiness?
Hedonism's not exactly a philosophy that inspires heroic achievement or greatness, but despite that little whine, Toro does have a few things he cares about, mostly revenge at the moment. Funimation's English dub came off pretty well. The animation is pretty good. I just wish they were animating something a little more imaginative in the design. Anyway, I give Balder Force EXE 2.5 stars. It's harmless, largely predictable action flick with unspectacular and unimaginative visuals, and it's populated by some stock characters with some sloppy, formulaic motivation. Either Ghost in the Shell or Serial Experiment Lane would be more interesting cyberpunk stories.
Thanks for listening.